6:30. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And so this is Monday, March the 28th, 2022. And this is the regular meeting of the Municipal Council for the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal for the month of March. And this is the meeting at which we officialize, I guess is the proper word, a number of the recommendations coming forward from committees. So just before I go to item 2, which is approval of the agenda, I'm just going to signal to council. I'm not at this point going to ask for an amendment to the agenda, but when we get to bylaws at 11C, which is the budget bylaw, I am going to ask for a motion to defer that bylaw for another meeting. And when we get there, I'll explain why, but at the present time, first of all, I'm looking at it from the point of view that there's no real magic to approving the budget at this meeting. We have additional time that we can spend in one more meeting, and I have a number of issues that I would like to raise at that meeting that I don't really want to raise them tonight because it would get into too long a discussion, and I think it's better dealt with at the committee level. So with those few words, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda, and Deputy Mayor Deschamps, I think you have the motion.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council approves the agenda as presented.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ma'am. So the motion is on the table. Those in favor? Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you. And I'm going now then to item number 3, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures here this evening? None. All right, the chair notes no disclosures and the minutes will so reflect. And I'm at item number 4 on the agenda, which is delegations and presentations. We have neither here this evening, which leads me directly then into item number 5, which is approval of the minutes of the previous council meeting. And that would be the meeting of February the 28th, Councillor Hunter.
Myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the regular meeting dated February 28th, 2022.
Okay, now I am going to ask for one correction to the minutes, and that's on page 9 of 124. And so I'm asking that the minutes, that this motion be amended and say as corrected. And on page 9 of 124, we have the motion that's moved up at item number K on the on page 9 of 124. We have the motion that's moved by Councillor Hunter, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that Municipal Council receives and approves the Port of Johnstown 2022 budget revenue and expenses. And before that motion actually came on the floor, I had inserted the word report in the motion because I felt that the motion wasn't complete without the word report. So when the motion actually came on the table, the word report was in it. So that is the motion that was passed and carried. And so I'm asking that the minutes just be amended to as corrected. Now, do the mover and the seconder have any concerns with that?
Where is the word report going in?
Right after the words, I'll read it. It's operative clause number 1, receives and approves the Port of Johnstown 2022 budget revenues and expenses report as presented. That's the way the motion came on the table. And I'm referring directly to my notes from the meeting. Okay, so the motion is going to say that's on the table is going to say the Municipal Council receives and approves the minutes of the regular council, the regular meeting, I should say council meeting, but the regular meeting dated February. Yes, it is the regular meeting. Regular meeting dated February the 28th as corrected. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. All right, I'm moving then to item number 6, which is business arising. Is there any business arising from this meeting? Okay, so no business arising. I'm going to go then to item number 7A, which is the Committee of the Whole Public Works ES report meeting minutes from February the 22nd. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps that municipal council receives and approves the revised minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, Environmental Facilities and Services. Is that,
Should be environmental services.
that's what I thought, but it says Environmental Facilities and Services dated February 22nd.
Okay, would you just correct that on your
Just a
copy?
moment. Yes,
And if you'd initial it, so that it comes on the table in that format. And have the seconder initial it.
Sartori, if you just pass it on, but there was, all right, I have a question.
All right. So you're the seconder, if you just correct the, Okay, so the motion is on the table, and it reads, receives and approves the revised minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities dated February 22nd, 2022. Discussion, if any? Okay,
Just
go
a
ahead.
question, it says revised, what was revised on that?
Yes, on, well, I'll show you what the revision was.
I looked for Mark, but I didn't see it.
No, it was on page 18 of 24.
Yes.
And on page 18 of 24, the second paragraph from the bottom. Committee briefly discussed the requirement for HFI to construct under specific safety regulations for fire containment. And then that's where the paragraph ended, because the latter sentence in the paragraph didn't seem to hang together. So that correction has been made in the
minutes.
yes.
Okay.
Right, motion's on the floor. Any other questions? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. All right, and so now I'm moving to item number 7C, which is the Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance meeting of March 14th, Councillor Dillaw. Now, am I in the right place? No, I think I missed one. Yeah, I got to go to 7B, Committee of the Whole Community Development.
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
That one's correct. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter. The municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Community Development dated March 7th, 2022.
Good. Thank you very much. Motion's on the floor. Minutes are up for discussion. Discussion, if any. Hearing none, vote to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now I'm at Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance, March the 14th. And just before that motion comes forward, I am going to ask the mover and the seconder if they would make some changes to those minutes as well on page 34 of 124. So I'm asking, now who's the mover here? I am. Councillor Dillaw. So Councillor, on page 34, there's 3 places where I'd like to see corrections made. The first one is the very first word, committee outlined that any resident may address. It was the chair actually that made that explanation at the beginning. So I'd like to see the word committee replaced by the word the chair. And in the third paragraph, matter can be decided where it says, Mr. Montroy highlighted a fine issued in December, noting his intention to dispute the fine in court and requested that the continued issuance of the fine cease until matter can be decided in court. Then it says committee explained the structure of the court system. Again, it was the chair that explained the structure of the court system. And then the last paragraph in the motion, again, it says committee thanked Mr. Montroy and Mr. Foss. It was the chair who extended thanks. So those three changes, if you would, and would you initial them, please? And we'll have the seconder initial.
Where am I initial, Mr. Mayor?
Just beside, just
Under your
write in the word
correction.
chair and then just put your initial beside the word chair.
It's the minutes, though, isn't it?
Beg pardon?
We're doing the minutes, right?
Yes.
So all of this is just, you're correcting things that are in the minutes, but they're not on
Correct.
his motion.
I'm correcting errors in the minutes. And the minutes are up for approval, so we're gonna approve them as corrected.
But I'm not initialing nothing here. It just says Miss Pellet Council
Right.
receives and approves
Minutes.
the minutes. So
It'll have
Yeah.
to say as correct.
Yeah, I have to say as corrected.
moved by myself and second by Council Chairman that Miss Pellet Council receives and approves the minutes as corrected of the Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance meeting dated March 14th, 2022.
So just so I'm correct in this,
Approves the minutes corrected of the Committee of the Whole.
so are you asking every time it says committee in?
No, just on
No,
those
just on
three
the
places.
Just doing the corrected on mine.
Just what Steve is.
Yeah. Right here.
Yeah, it's in, these minutes will be attached to that motion. Okay, motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Hearing none, vote to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now we're on item 7D, which is Committee of the Whole Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities for March the 21st. Councillor Carmen.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities meeting dated March 21st, 2022.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, so now we're at item number 8 on the agenda, the number of action and information items coming forward from the committee meetings. And so 8A is an application for severance. Councillor Cameron.
Oh, yes. So it is, I'm sorry. Sorry, I was just. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that municipal council recommend in favor of severance B 10-22 in brackets 3106 County Road 21 Cleary out of brackets with the conditions that a building location survey be provided for the severed parcel and that a zoning bylaw amendment is obtained to address the deficient lot size and prohibit future non-agricultural use, including residential uses on the retained parcel and address any reduced setbacks on the severed parcel as recommended by the Committee of the Whole Community Development.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. So now at item number 8B, which is a Cardinal Pool Tender Award, and Deputy Mayor Deschamps, if you have that one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that Municipal Council 1 award the Cardinal Pool Tender Project to Benson Pools in the amount of $258,517 plus non-rebated HST with a 10% contingency fee on replacement of the pool lines and decking. And 2, approves the cost of $6,000 to remove the old filter, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Administration of Finance.
Thank you very much. And discussion, if any? Hearing none, the vote to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so item number 8C, the recreation coordinator position, Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council maintain a 40-hour week contract position through September 30th, 2022, and advertise for a full-time recreation coordinator position to start October 3rd, 2022, as recommended by Committee of the Whole, Administration and Finance.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. So now we go to item number 8D, the Johnstown multi-use surface pickleball and tennis courts. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. The municipality council supports SARE by providing staff assistance in preparing and submitting a grant application in the Resilient Community Fund to replace the existing 2 tennis courts in Johnstown with 2 multi-use outdoor surfaces, and that the township commit, subject to successful grants and donations, in providing staff assistance in executing the project and financial upset limit contribution of $79,200 over a 2-year project. And 2, direct staff to establish a schedule to make inside of the Spencerville Arena available at no charge between April and September of 2022 for pickleball use, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole and Administration of Finance.
Thank you very much. And discussion, if any?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, regarding the number 2, regarding the Spencerville Arena, I'm just wondering when that is completed, does this is through the chair to staff, how this is going to be booked, or how it's going to queue up? What if people arrive at say 10 o'clock and three people want to play, or 10 people want to play? How are you going to book that, or have a consistent booking on that?
So through the mayor, we will look to use the Booking King app that we have for some of the other activities.
Very good, thank you.
So you'll put it by time slot then.
You will.
Okay, and one last question then. The way the motion reads is Sarah is going to prepare and submit the application. Is that correct?
That is the plan as of right now.
Okay, so they're going to be the applicant. They're going to be the applicant then.
Yes, through review of that application, I believe that they are an eligible entity to submit.
Okay, because the motion can be read either way. We can assist them by preparing and submitting, or in preparing and submitting. So, okay, so that's fine. It's just that I think that this application is going to need a little bit of lobby effort. And so I'd like to know as soon as it gets done, so that I can make a few phone calls here. Okay, motion is on the floor. Further discussion, if any? Somebody else with a hand up?
Not yet.
Oh, okay, we call the question. Those in favor?
Yes.
Motion is carried. All right, and so now I'm going to item number 8E, which is the Edwardsburg Industrial Park Distribution System, the MECP inspection report. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receive and acknowledge the 2021 MECP Edwardsburg Industrial Park Distribution System Inspection Rating Report, noting the final inspection rating of 100%, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Okay, so thank you very much. And I've just got a tab here, so I'm gonna just check my tab to see if there's a question. Nope. So motions on the floor, discussion if any? No discussion about the call of question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now I'm at item 8F, which is the 2021 Prescott Drinking Water System Annual Report. And I think that is Councillor Cameron.
It is. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Now, just before you put the motion on the floor,
Go ahead.
the motion that I have on my page reads that municipal council receive and review the 2021 water/annual summary report for the Prescott, and then it jumps directly Prescott Water System. And just for the sake of clarity, I'd like to see the word drinking water system, the word drinking put in front of water. Clarifies that it's the drinking water system that we're dealing with, which is the whole subject of the issue.
It's in.
And do you have, can you initial it and have the seconder?
I will have a
as well?
seconder do that, of course. Yeah. Good get one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Discussion if any. Vote to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. 8G, the Helen Street CIPP lining request for quotations. And that is Councillor Hunter.
Member myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council award the CICP Helen Street Project Clean Water Works for the sum of $58,870 plus non-rebated HST and transfers from the Cardinal Wastewater Reserve Fund to offset the additional cost for this project as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Now, motion is on the floor. Discussion if any. Okay, hearing none, about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. I'm at item number 8H, which is the 2022 dust suppressant tender. Councillor Hunter.
Member myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council one award the supply of dust suppression tender to Daily Dust Control Limited at the unit rate of 31 cents per liter to a maximum of $66,045, not including non-rebated HST, and approve the transfers for the Public Works Reserve to offset the additional cost as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. And that motion is on the floor. Discussion of any? Hearing none, about to call a question. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Now I'm at 8I, which is the 2022 gravel roads cross rock tender. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council award the supply of crushed rock tender to Willis Kerr Contracting Limited at the unit price of $13.50 per metric ton to a maximum of $101,250 plus non-rebated HST, and utilize the township's second grader for the 2022 season as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services, and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Lots of discussion at the committee level. Further discussion here this evening. Hearing none, about to call this question. Question on this issue. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. All right, now I'm on 8J, which is for the supply of winter sand Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Council Cameron, that the municipal council award the winter sand tender to G. Tackleberry and Sons Construction Limited at a unit price of $17.74 per metric ton, and authorize staff to execute necessary contract documents as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Service, and Facility.
Okay, so motion is on the floor. Any discussion here? Okay, hearing none, about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. All right, so that gets me to item number 8K. And this item number 8K is a late arriving issue that results from the fact that the North Grenville is responsible for and they're going to be lead role on the work for the Totem Ranch Road reconstruction project. And they've notified us that that project will not be going ahead this year. And we've budgeted in our budget estimates, I think it's a 20,000 transfer from reserve and 107,000 from taxation to support that project, which will not be occurring. So we have a recommendation here in front of us that we still tax that amount and transfer it into reserve. Now that's one new item, and I'm going to ask that this recommendation be deferred until after another another budget meeting, because I have that issue and another one to bring up at another budget meeting, and unfortunately, I just can't support this recommendation as mayor, and I'm having trouble supporting the budget as well. So it's in your hands. It does have a mover, and if the mover chooses to bring it forward, it'll come forward with a seconder. I would be prepared to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to delete item 8K, but the issue is in the hands of council. I'm not going to, I've indicated to you what my preference is, but I'll defer to the will of council on this one, but I'll be voting against the recommendation.
I think,
Councillor?
have I seconded that?
Yeah.
I'm happy to defer. I think if we're going to have another budget meeting, I think it's, I don't know that we're going to have another budget meeting, but I assume that we are, but it sounds good. I'll remove my second.
Well, I thought we kind of pretty well settled on our budget here as far as deferring as taxing this in there. We put it over in the capital. All my concern is that put it over in the capital, and then it's just a matter of right now we're looking at $1 million to borrow. There's 107,000 right there now that we don't have to borrow it. That couldn't go to that, so I don't really see the point of deferring it. We're just putting it over into the reserves to have it there. We can discuss after where we bring it out. We haven't settled on where we're getting $1 million from yet, so.
And that specifically is the other issue that I wanted to tie it in with. And I just felt that it needed more discussion rather than a short discussion here.
Well, if I may, that makes sense. I suppose ultimately it's just going into reserves, and if we, I suppose if we chose then to take it back from out of reserves at the next meeting and move it and use that for reducing the $1 million, that's what you're suggesting.
Yeah,
That's where I'm going to go anyway. So
I think it's just a delay of the budget that we've already set for the tax rate, so.
I'm going to ask that would be deferred as well. It's in the hands of the mover and the seconder and council. Go ahead.
Yes, it's not clear as to when this is going to be finished. It says 2023 or 2024. So it's really not really clear when this is going to come back on with South Grenville being, I guess, the lead on it. So I would like to see it deferred, Mr. Mayor.
And anyone, did you want to speak on this matter?
I'll take it out though for our budget, 107,000.
Beg
I
pardon?
don't want it in capital. I'd rather just take it right off the books for this year, 2022.
Okay, so what's your druthers, Mr. Mover?
I'm going to move this, my second or still.
I think I'm gonna remove my second.
Right.
I think I'm gonna remove my second.
There's no second or moving forward with it.
That's true.
Correct.
Okay, motion fails to find a seconder. Okay, so then we can go on, and the next item on the agenda is item number 9, which is correspondence. And Councillor Cameron, I think you have that one.
Yes, I do, thank you. And it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that municipal council receives the correspondence listings for the following dates as previously circulated: March 2nd, 2022, March 9th, 2022, March 16th, 2022, and March 23rd, 2022.
Thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. All of those correspondence packages have been circulated. Any discussion? Any business coming forward from the correspondence packages? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And just give me a minute to get organized again. I think I'm at item number 10, which is the approval of the municipal disbursements. And Councillor Cameron, you appear to have that one as well.
I do, Mr. Mayor, thank you. And it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that municipal council approves payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated February 26th, 2028, 2022-26, $225,192.88. Report dated February 28, 2022-27, $148,814.01. Report dated March 8th, 2022-30, $94,440.92. Report dated March 14th, 2022-37, $195,780.82. Report dated March 14th, 2022-38, $94,035.80. Report dated March 23rd, 2022-41, $167,821.74. Report dated March 24th, 2022-43, $316,093.32 for a total of $1,242,183.49.
Very good, thank you. And the disbursement sheets have been circulated with the package on Friday afternoon. Questions, if any? All righty, can you give us your page reference?
I'll go first. I'll come back to my second one. So page 98 indicates that we paid $10,206.75 for Val tag stickers for, I'm assuming, for our machinery. Is that license plate? That's not license plate renewals. That's the okay to operate like heavy equipment machinery or something. Like that's not something that we're going to see any of that back because of not having to renew stickers anymore.
So through the mayor, we're still required to do the register. It's just a matter that you don't need to get the stickers anymore.
Still have to register your plates.
You still have to register your plates.
Okay,
So,
so
and I
that's-
don't believe that the rebates apply to commercial entities,
That's
just
not
to
where it's going.
That's
private
correct.
vehicles.
And the second one is, and I apologize, normally I would send this in an email, but I forgot to. The other one's on page 91, and it seems unclear. It's the only one on that page. It just says accountant, Superior Court of, for court file, hashtag 2002, and the amount of 94,000. But it's not clear what that's for.
Good question.
Through the mayor, that was a result of the tax sale. of the property.
Oh, the tax sale proceeds. Oh, that's the residual.
That is the residual.
Yeah, so in other words, it works like this. If our taxes owing was, let's say, 100,000, and the person bid 194,000, we keep our taxes and pay the residual to the Superior Court of Justice.
Yep.
And it gets dispersed from there.
I just did. Yeah.
Is that correct, Mr.? Have I got that correct, Mr. CAO?
In essence, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if the mayor, or sorry, if the treasurer would like to clarify any of that.
Certainly through the chair, the payment into the court is the amount left over after the township has been satisfied with the cancellation price on the file.
Follow up if I can, through the CAO to the treasurer. Does that, does the Superior Court of Justice, do they distribute that balance? Do they distribute that to the heirs or to the family or to the property owner? What happens to it after the Superior Court of Justice gets it? Just curious in my case.
Certainly through the chair, the funds are held for 60 or 90 days. Subsequent to that time lapse, then anybody that has title on the property can make application to the courts to satisfy their lien against the property. So potentially the owner or another person on title, could be a mortgage company, could also make application to get that money out of the courts.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that clarification. Does that answer your questions, Councilor or Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, it just wasn't clear exactly what that file was, but now we know.
Any other questions with the disbursement sheet? Councilor Cameron.
Yes, I have 3 or 4, Mr. Mayor. First one is on page 88, and it's just a clarification of the name. It's Home Sweet Home, and it's for plowing and things like that for $4,600. I just can't recall seeing that name prior. Could be my mistake. I'm just wondering through you to the staff if this is a new company or has this company been doing work for us for quite a while.
From CAO.
So through the mayor, this is the company that we awarded in the fall to do the parking lots and some of the open road allowances in the township. So this is their first winter season with us.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm just going to follow up on that. Is this a trading name or a corporate entity? Or do you know?
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't want to.
But we issue checks under this name.
We do.
Fair enough. Can the treasurer tell us if it's a corporate entity or just a trading name?
It's just a trade name. I don't believe the contractor is incorporated.
Thank you very much. So second question.
Yes, it's on page 89, and I'd just like a definition of the Municipal Waste Association. I'd just like to know what that is and what the membership fees are for. Is it for the township or is it for certain members?
Through the mayor, it is for the township, and it's with respect to waste disposal.
Okay, thank you. That's fine. And now, Mr. Mayor, if you just give me a moment to get to my next one, which is on page 96. I'll be there in just a moment. Yes, and it's on page 96, and it has to do with Marissa Abrams, and I'm just curious about sidewalk cleaning. What would we need a sidewalk cleaned for?
Or is it snow, or maybe snow cleaning? Is it?
Well, it says sidewalk cleaning, so I just don't know whether or not that means snow shoveling or what.
Yeah, so through the mayor, that would be winter sidewalk cleaning. I'm going to go out on a limb and the typical individual that does that throughout the winter was probably unavailable at that time, and we had to get supplement that work.
Okay, thank you. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Additional questions? Okay, if there are no additional questions, I'm going to call the question on approval of the disbursement sheets. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, now let's give it a second again to get caught up, because I'm now at number 11, which is the various bylaws on the code. And bylaw number 11A is use of corporate resources for election purposes policy. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Yes, that was me. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt a policy regarding the use of corporate resources for election purposes. And this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Very much. And further discussion, if any? Hearing none, about the call question, those in favor?
Aye.
Now that's first and second reading, and so it has unanimous approval and can proceed to third reading, this bylaw.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to adopt a policy regarding the use of corporate resources for election purposes be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2022-20.
Very much. So third reading for this bylaw. Further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. Policy becomes into effect. And so bylaw number 11B, which is a code of conduct for members of council and committees. Again, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt a code of conduct for members of council and committee of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Very much. And further discussion or any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of first and second reading?
Aye.
That's unanimous approval. That bylaw can proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to adopt a code of conduct for members of council and committee of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2022-21.
Thank you very much. And out to call a question on third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. All right, so now I'm at bylaw 11C, which is the 2022 budget bylaw, and this is the bylaw that I was asking council that I would hope to see deferred, but it is in the hands of Councillor Dillabaugh. So Councillor Dillabaugh, your druthers.
Mr. Mayor, what do you want for on our budget meeting 2022 budget, our last meeting, we passed it 5-0.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
And I've had a chance to have a second look through that budget, and I have a concern that enables me to take the position that I can't really support that. I apologize that I didn't pick that up during the budget meeting. Sometimes just too much pressure. Missed it completely. So that's why I'm asking for another meeting, another budget meeting. The issue that I've wanted to discuss in a little bit more detail. It's a public meeting, of course, but I just didn't want to do it here this evening at a council meeting. And there is, of course, the other issue, which has already been deferred. So again, the motion is in your possession. You can take your name off it. You can put it forward and then it will come to a vote. Or alternatively, you can just, the chair can entertain a motion that this budget bylaw be deferred. And that can come from anybody. So 3 courses of action open to council here at this point. I would prefer that somebody put forward a motion to defer this bylaw.
Can I have the seconder on that, please?
You are the seconder.
I would like to remove my name from the second on that.
Okay, so now that has a mover but no seconder, so it fails to come to the table. And we will schedule another council meeting, another budget meeting at some point, soon to be notified, but fairly quick.
Oh, Mr. Mayor, didn't give anybody the option to replace the seconder on.
No, that's true. It didn't. I thought somebody would be quick.
I'd second it.
Okay, so now it has a mover and a second. So the motion is on the table that we read this bylaw.
Move by my second. You want to sign that initial, please? Initial.
I signed it.
Oh. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Hunter that the mover be granted leave to introduce the bylaw, adopt the general government estimate, the sums required during the 2022 year, and that shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
Motion comes to me. Okay, motion is on the table. Go ahead.
Through yourself to either the CAO or the treasurer's gone.
Chair, I think she just lost connection for a minute.
Okay. I think the CAO most likely can answer, but we've already approved interim tax bills, so tax bills are already sent out, correct, based on last year's.
Through the mayor based on 50% of last year's.
So folks, this has really, the only implication that this would have by putting it off one more month and having another meeting to possibly discuss it a little bit more would be that the second bill is going to be a little higher than the first, like which it usually is.
Only if the budget is increased over last year. So in other words,
Through the chair to the CAO, it's higher than last year. I mean, was that what the implication would be?
Well, once through the mayor, once the estimates are adopted, the contents of the budget, staff would be able to proceed with some of those projects.
well, the adoption of the budget estimates in essence sets the tax rate.
In essence, it
Yeah.
does.
And the tax rate then determines each individual's tax
Yes,
bill.
For the August billing, correct?
Yeah.
That is correct.
And only if the final billing is more than last year's final billing will the second billing in August be higher than the first billing in March. Because the billing in March is 50% of last year.
That is correct.
Yeah, so in order for the second billing in this year to be higher than the first billing, the total tax bill has to be higher as well. Yeah. So this has no implication on the interim tax bills which have already been sent out.
I knew that it didn't. It would be the next bill that it would have implication to. But Councilor Lilbaugh has a question.
Due the chair to the CEO, does this affect our tenders going out until, we can't really send a tender out for our job here in Spencerville until our budget's passed, is that right?
No, that's not correct. And as a matter of fact, that's another reason, a good reason, as a matter of fact, for holding this back. Because we have estimated what the results of those tenders will be. But we don't exactly know the exact amount of those two construction projects. As we get the tenders out the door and get the results back in, we will have a more accurate knowledge of what those two projects are going to cost. I'm not suggesting that we delay the budget until we have those tender bids back, because it'll be some time, probably a minimum of what, 6 weeks, five to 6 weeks. The one tender is not out yet, as I understand it. The Johnstown one won't go out until the end of March, well, which is this week.
So through the mayor, the Spencerville project has been tendered. It will close April 12th, and I anticipate that Johnstown will either that project will either close on the April 19th or 26th, depending on when that comes in.
Right. Okay, so I have a motion in front of me on the floor. Any further discussion on the motion? Councillor Hunter.
Well, the one thing, any of our other capital works projects that we have in that budget, we've approved, and that's we're gonna give them pre-budget approval. None of them can go forward unless they have pre-budget approval. That's the only reason these two tenders are going out, because we give them pre-budget approval.
No, that's not true. We've committed to do the two projects. It's just that we don't know the exact amounts.
No, they
But I don't think they got pre-budget approval because we haven't awarded them yet.
So through the mayor, we got pre-approval for the commitment to in theory, to do those projects and to get those tenders out.
Yeah.
And we've had pre-budget approval on a couple items, like the fire vehicle, but there's a number of those items that on the capital side that have not been approved as of yet.
Well, pre-budget approval doesn't really come until you're actually awarding. You take all kinds of steps towards a project, but until you finally award it, it's not approved. I know at county we do that quite frequently. Put a number of tenders out, but don't give them actual pre-budget approval until we know exactly which ones we're going to do. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, dear Chair, to the CEO. Will this affect our budget that we just gave for the pool? If we don't approve this budget tonight?
So through the mayor, it will not.
It will not?
It will not. For earlier on, you approved the work at the pool.
Okay, so that they can start ordering. That
That is correct.
Thank you.
And so we would see, okay, just so that I'm clear on exactly what, because I have a feeling that I'm going to be the decider here. That you're asking to do that, we'll have this back in our hands at the April council meeting. And you're asking for this to be reviewed at another committee. That's the reason for deferral.
Yes.
Like, we're not looking at May or June.
No.
We're looking at April. We're gonna have one more go at budget in.
I'm assuming that, and I haven't seen what are possible agenda items for the admin finance committee meeting in April. But assuming that is not a heavy agenda, I think that discussion can take place there. And then if there's a will, I mean, I'm sure we'll resolve it there one way or the other. We'll resolve it in one meeting, up or down, it'll be resolved. The question will be, does council want to hold a special meeting in April after the admin finance committee meeting to approve the budget prior to the April council meeting? Because if we do, that's certainly a possibility.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to point out that the treasurer will be away the first 2 weeks of April. So I don't, the treasurer won't be at the finance meeting.
And I think, actually, I think we have the numbers that we need. It's just a question of reorganizing the numbers that we need, in my opinion. To be honest, I think the treasurer has provided us with a good number of good numbers, if I could put it that way. And we know that the audit is basically done. We don't have the auditor's report, but the audit work has been done, and we haven't had any report from the treasurer as to any adverse feedback from that source. So I think the numbers that we're dealing with are relatively accurate. It's just a question of, well, I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons that I can't support this budget is that I feel that we're raising about $500,000 in taxes, more than we need. We're either raising it or borrowing it, and more than we need to. And so that's why I can't support it. And that didn't really hit me until after the last budget meeting.
So are you saying that you're going to 500,000 cut from this budget?
No, I don't think it needs to be cut. I just think we need, well, I think it just needs to be realigned.
I think for me, Mr. Mayor, I think in a lot of ways, I probably, without knowing exactly what you're talking about, I think I may actually feel kind of similar. I felt that way certainly after last meeting, having one more look at the way that we do things. I think ultimately we're gonna come at the same numbers, but we're very close to them anyways. But I see no issue with having one more go at it. So.
Okay, so I'm gonna call a question on the motion before the chair, and I'm gonna call for a recorded vote. And I'm gonna call the ladder. I've got a ladder tonight, Councilor.
Perfect.
Councilor Cameron, how do you vote?
Nay.
Councilor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councilor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Nay.
And the mayor votes nay, so the motion fails. And so we will schedule another budget meeting, either directly into the admin finance or before. Okay, so that gives us
The third.
So there you go.
oh, what did I have in my hand?
First and second, that's. the
Oh,
third.
I see. Yeah, sorry. Didn't have it in my hand. I had my own copy.
You get it back whether it goes through or not.
And I
Third doesn't
did that.
matter.
It doesn't matter, it's scrap.
Yeah, it's just.
And you had removed your name as set. Well, wait a minute, now what happened here?
That's
I
first
got
and
it.
second.
On the first one, I had removed my name.
Right, so that's the one.
don't
Third one you
don't
can throw
need this-
away.
Yeah, that's-
This one you can rip up.
Yeah, this one's gone. Okay. All right, so where are we now? I think now we're at the CAO's administrative update. And so we'll let the CAO present his report. Then we'll have a question period, and then I'll ask that the motion come forward. So, Mr. CAO, you're on to highlight your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess maybe if it pleases council, maybe if there's just any questions, we can go right to that. On the report.
Okay, so I'll go around the table or look for hands. So Deputy Mayor, you have a question?
Just one in regard to the food cycler. I don't know what date you prepared the report. I mean, we had it on Friday. It certainly sounded like it was a busy weekend. I know one person had an issue with trying to purchase one. Eventually, they were able to purchase it. Do we know how many? I know it says in your report there's 70%. Do we know how many are left?
I believe that there are less than 25 left.
So we're close. Good.
So that's out of the 100, right?
That is at 100.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised, actually.
Actually, some line.
Yeah, so, yeah, and if I may just add on that particular one, I've been waiting till the 11th hour before I purchase one, making sure that the township residents by far have.
Oh, so now we're down to 24, is that what you're
Well,
saying?
Potentially.
Additional questions to the CAO, Councillor Campbell?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Mr. CAO. Of that 70% that's sold, or the 24 that's left, I had made a comment earlier when we were discussing these that I would definitely buy one. Now, is that included in the 70%, or do I have to jump in right away?
Through the mayor, you'll need to jump in right away.
Okay.
Because it's based on already prepaid.
Please consider me jumped in, and I will have it looked after before the end of the month.
With all due respect, Councillor, money talks.
Money will talk,
Yes, we want to see the money, honey.
and so does my word. So,
Okay, Deputy Mayor?
One more if I may, is there a place or a point where we can access more information for folks that want to know on the Edward Street underpass? It's in your report, but I know with the stage that was going on from Merwin Lane to Brockville or Sharps Lane, there's a website that you can go on to and put comments and that sort of stuff. Is there anything like that for this one?
Through the mayor, not at this stage, but once that becomes available, I'll be sure to relay that information.
Thank you.
Other questions before I jump in with a couple? Councillor Dillabaugh.
Yes, I got a couple. First of all, curbside collection, how's it going? I see it's in a report, but is it smooth? No problems? Any breakdowns?
Through the mayor, I would say that the transition has went as smooth as you can anticipate, and there have not been any breakdowns. There's been a couple items with the truck getting earlier to locations than would have been previous, but I think that will get ironed out relatively quick, but actually quite pleased with the overall service and response, at least to date.
Want back in again?
I
You want back in again? Councillor Dillabaugh?
Yeah, I just have one other.
You go ahead.
Thank you, you chair to the CEO again on the fire department training. How many of our firemen is qualified under the grandfather clause on the new training that we have to have done? In other words, how many of the new ones are coming on board? What's our trainings like? Out of our 23, 25 men, how many have to go through that training 1, 2, 3, 4? Do you have any idea, or should we ask the chief?
Well, through the mayor, is that with respect to the certification to
That's right.
the NFPA
Yeah.
standard by 2024, 2026?
That's right.
I believe that in that report that that was presented within the last month or two, that the chief had a rough number of who would reach what level, but I don't have that.
Okay, I'm just curious, because I know we have a lot of, we don't have that many newcomers, so I just want to know where we're at.
Through the mayor, there's a number of new members, I would say, over the last 2 to 3 years.
That's fine. Mr. Mayor, I'll follow up with you.
Well, I think the chief on his last report to us indicated that he felt that he would have no trouble getting all of the department up to the standard by the deadline that had been set by the province.
Yeah.
That was the essence of his report, as I recall.
Yes, but yeah, through the mayor, but I would say that at this particular stage, I don't know how many of those members are. But yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. CAO, under your upcoming meetings, and I'm just referring to the April 1st quarter revision, where will that be held, here or somewhere else?
Through the mayor, it will be held here at in the council chambers at 2 p.m.
Okay.
I just had one question on the fire report. Chief said that it's undertaking a summer recruitment program. Recruit more firefighters. The last time they showed the list there, it appeared to me that we had well over the complement of 24 firefighters in each station, like trying to recruit, but there's a limit to how many volunteers you take on and buy uniforms and equipment for too, so.
But I think, and I can't recall the list, but it seemed to me that on that list, there are a number of people sort of on the way out, but I can't recall the list that well. Maybe you can.
Through the mayor, there would be a few members that would be departing in the next 6 months to a year.
And I think the other worry that the chief has, and I know that many of the other mayors expressed the same thing. The big worry that they have is that during the daytime, when our volunteers are out of the area at workplaces in Brockville or wherever, some in Ottawa, they have a tough time assembling even enough to meet daytime calls. And I think what the chief is always looking for during his recruitment efforts are people that will be readily available in daytime hours. I know that that's one of the big issues facing us with our volunteer departments throughout the area. I don't know whether that answers your
Well,
question.
it's just, that's fine, but for a number of years, we had a maximum number of volunteers we had in each thing, and we surpassed that in both departments, so.
Through the mayor, it was several years back where the only reason I know is because I was the one that brought it forward. What was to not have a specific limit, and just for some of those reasons, because of fluctuations, daytime, but also it takes time to bring recruits up to a level of confidence that you have for them to perform some of those duties.
Right. I have one other question with this fire department report, maybe because I can't remember. What does JHSC stand for?
Oh, my apologies. That's a short form for Joint Health and Safety Committee.
Oh, should have known that. Makes perfect sense.
He's ahead of me.
Just a comment that I believe in our last fire report, we had 2 people had left in the, I think in the past, within 2 months, I believe. So.
And we know that there's at least, well, I mean, I'm not going to speculate on who's leaving, but that's right. Deputy Mayor.
Just want to go back. It's not really a question, it's more of a comment to the 2022. I was going to save it for inquiries or notice of motion, but the 2022 Small Business and Trade Show, and just first compliments to LG Approved for running another successful, I think a successful trade show, and definitely to the development coordinator and any of the volunteers on staff for all the work that they did in many of our small businesses and their literature out there. People good job.
Is that everything? I just have a few questions of my own. So first, on page 118, SNC Municipal Information Day. Now that's on April the 6th. Now, is that says a municipal information day. Is that a virtual thing or virtual and in person? It says, and then it says pre-registration is required. So do you register us? Or how do we get registered for that?
So through the mayor, if you're interested, certainly let me know and I will register. You just have to let me know if it would be in person or virtual.
And if it's in person, will it be here or in Finch?
It would be in Finch, Safe Nation Conservation.
So Councillor Hunter, can you tell me more about this information day?
Unfortunately, it was being discussed last week and I was unable to attend this Thursday, so.
Okay, well, I think then register me for the virtual and I'll try to make myself available on April the 6th then. That's the first thing. Now, if anybody else wants to get registered, you can, sounds like you can do it by Zoom or go to Finch.
You know, you can do it by Zoom or it's basically explaining, I think they're going to explain all the new things that they had to do to meet the government regulations, where South Nation really didn't have to do much different.
Yeah,
I'd say from being a new committee member sitting on it, that it appeared to me more that it looked like the government pretty near copied South Nation's programs that they're running together. Very little ends of had to change to coincide with what they're already doing.
and you're absolutely correct in that analysis because I think the thrust of the government effort was that other conservation agencies which are not nearly as cooperative or as outgoing as South Nation. Does anybody else have any questions before I go on here?
No, I'll wait till we're on inquiries.
Okay, Councillor Dilba.
Yes, I have the one there, upcoming meetings, Friday, April 1st, Court Revision of Newport. Is that open to the public?
Council is always welcome at these meetings.
No, yeah, is it open to the public though?
I believe so. Any court is open.
Sorry?
Sorry, so with respect to the Court of Revision,
Yes,
well, the notice typically would be, it would be most applicable to only those on the drain that would have the opportunity to appeal their assessment.
okay. That's what I want to know, thank you.
Now, so I'm going on here. On page 119, under Treasury, there's a report here that I've never seen before. Under Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing meeting, the treasurer had a virtual meeting with Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing representative to discuss the status of the township financial policies. I just have never seen that before. Can you tell me what prompted that or what that, generally municipal affairs takes a hands-off approach to townships, especially their financial matters.
Through the mayor, I don't have the exact details that took place while I was away, but I will follow up with the treasurer and can give a little summary to council.
Thank you, I'd appreciate that. And also, can you find out who initiated that meeting?
Through the mayor, that would be typically the Municipal Affairs and Housing reaching out.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, no problem. And I had one other question, but I just can't see where it was right now.
So, yeah, Mr. Mayor, yeah, it appears like that is just an annual follow-up meeting that they do. So
it's an annual meeting following after we submit our FIR information.
Right.
Okay, I just haven't seen that kind of a report before. Okay, so if there are no other questions, then I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor Deschamps to bring forward the motion to approve the CAO's administrative update.
Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that municipal council receives the CAO's administrative report as presented.
Thanks very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And so now I'm proceeding to item number 13, which is council inquiries or notices of motion. Does anyone have anything?
I do.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. CAO, it's really a comment, and I just wanted to follow up on Deputy Mayor Deschamps' comment just a moment ago regarding the trade show. I just want to say how professional our booth was. It looked fantastic. It has the new map was in the background, which we have in the far end of our building or room right now, and plus the computer setup that was there. Our coordinator did a fantastic job with all of that. So kudos to all involved, and I was most impressed. Thank you.
Especially the giant keyboard.
Incredible, and it worked too.
Any other inquiries or notices of motion? Okay, so moving on then to item number 14, which is the mayor's report. I have several items to report on this evening. So first of all, echoing Deputy Mayor's comments and Councillor Cameron's comments, and Councillor Dillaball was at the trade show as well. And as much as I appreciate the efforts that the coordinator put into the making us look so professional, I just really felt that it was not what I would call a strong public turnout. But I was only there, actually was there 3 times. Thursday night for a couple of hours, and then Friday night for 2.5 hours, and then Saturday morning for a half an hour. Well, not quite a half an hour, but anyway, very well put together. There's no question about it. A lot of work by all of the presenters. So I'll add my kudos and thanks. So going on with the mayor's report, first thing I want to mention to members of council, the next number of Fridays, so the Fridays in April, will be busy Fridays for provincial announcements. And just in case other members of council are interested in joining me, on April the 1st, there will be a ministerial announcement at Frankville. And then after the Frankville announcement, we'll be going on to Mapleview Lodge for an announcement at Mapleview Lodge. And just so you know, in Frankville, we've established a new community paramedic station in cooperation with the township of Elizabethtown Kitley. So we have our community paramedics station there. And we're using that community paramedic program to try to reduce our ambulance response times in that northwest corner of the county. And it's working quite well. We've actually reduced the response times in Athens by about 5 minutes by having the community paramedics there. And I just want to say a word about the community paramedic program, because it does not require the use of an ambulance. We use an SUV type vehicle that's fully outfitted, and either 1 or 2 paramedics in that vehicle. And that vehicle performs 2 functions. First of all, it's always available to respond to an emergency. And they're able to be first on the scene in that northwest corner of the county. The second thing that they do on an all-day basis is they act as an outpatient contact for patients that are released from hospital with medication regimes or follow-up regimes. And our intent is that by visiting homes, we save people from phoning the emergency departments. And it's been shown to reduce our calls to the 911 number by quite a significant amount. So it's a very successful program, and we're very happy to have this new location in Frankville, which is very strategically placed. The other thing I want to say about this is most people forget that when you call an ambulance, even when that ambulance arrives, it's at least 15 to 20 minutes that those paramedics spend stabilizing the patients prior to transporting the patient anyplace. So the 2 paramedics that are in the community paramedic SUV, they do all of that stabilization work while the transport ambulance is on its way to the scene. But our response times is based on when the first paramedic arrived at the call. So that's working quite well. I just want to talk about that because I think it's very successful.
Mr. Mayor, on a follow-up on that, how do they go to it? Does it still go through 911? They dispatch to paramedics first before the ambulance?
No, when the call comes for an ambulance, the paramedics hear it.
That's what I'm saying, so
And then
you
and
call
they
911, regular call,
Yeah,
they hear it,
they
they're
respond.
available on 92 Main Street, Athens, they're gone.
Yep,
And they could be, the ambulance could be in Brockville, just dispatching a patient in the hospital.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, and we depend on the 911 operator to categorize the call by seriousness. Yeah, and what we're interested in is what they call the level 4 calls, which is cardiac arrest and that kind of thing.
You said that there was a second one as well, like, was it Mapleview?
Yeah, the second announcement will be at Mapleview Lodge. The two are about an hour and a half apart. So again, anybody wants to join me, let me know. April the 8th, we'll be in Brockville for the opening of Pixie Place, which is going to be it's a building that we've renovated for the homeless in Brockville. I think it's going to provide 8 to 10 to 12, I can't remember the exact number, of small units for basically people that we're hoping to get off the streets. And April 22nd, we'll do the replacement for the one that was canceled last Friday, which will be the unveiling of the sign for the County Road 43 project in Kempville, and then moving from there over to the courthouse apartment project, where we have purchased the courthouse. No, we've leased the courthouse in Kempville for a period, I can't remember whether it's 10 or 20 years, and we'll be building a number of apartments in there as well to try to create affordable rental apartments in Kempville. So moving on to the next item, just for members of council, the Spencerville Business and Community Connections Group will meet tomorrow for their annual general meeting at the Spencerville Legion from 7 till 9. And there's a short little annual general meeting from 7 till, I suppose, maybe 7:30 or so. And then a social hour or whatever until around 9 o'clock. Members of council would like to join me there. Just a few comments about the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville budget, which was passed at the council meeting last Thursday, the 24th, which is a 2.14% tax rate increase. That's an increase in the tax rates over 2021. The county council will collect $43.2 million from property taxpayers this year. And the approved budget provides for total expenditures of $108 million, and capital expenditures account for $54.7 million of that amount. And I'll try to put together a list of the capital projects, some of the highlights from the capital projects, but let me say for the next couple of years, the major thrust of our capital work is going to be on that County Road 43 project. Just a reminder, the South Grenville Beacon will hold their first anniversary happy birthday party on Saturday, April the 12th, this coming Saturday at the Prescott Legion from 1 till 3. And then the last, pardon?
April 2nd. Or
This Saturday.
This Saturday, April 2nd.
April 2nd.
Yeah. And then the last item that I wanted to report on, and it comes from an issue that was raised by Councillor Dillabaugh at our last meeting. And so if you look in our package that we've just had tonight, and if you go to page 46 of our package, page 46 of 124, I just want to refresh everybody of why I'm doing this. So on page 46 of 124, Councillor Dillabaugh inquired about a resident that recently received a notice to vacate the premises, which is owned by United Counties of Leeds and Grenville by June 2022. Members inquired if there was a mechanism available to allow the resident the option to purchase the property. It was noted that United Counties of Leeds and Grenville does not have an interest in continuing to own and rent the property in Byers Road. Well, it wasn't noted actually that the United Council does not have an interest. I reported that the United Counties does not have an interest in continuing to own. Now, I was a little bit flummoxed at that inquiry because it had gone much farther than our discussions at county council. And I was really surprised to hear that somebody would have gotten a notice of eviction. And so consequently, I went to the looking for it here someplace. No, don't tell me I've lost it. Went to the CAO of the United Counties and asked for some clarification. And I just want to report this because I don't want people to think that we're evicting people. And so this is the report from the CAO of the United Counties. The letter was not an eviction by June. It was notice we may list in June and a real estate agent may need to come look at the property. Our representative did speak to the tenant, who was agitated at first but was calmer at the end of the call. He asked to purchase the property and was told that would have to go to council. The property has an appraised value. And we've done an analysis to determine what repairs to the property might cost. Our analysis of what the property might require in repairs has led us, United Counties, to the conclusion that those repairs cannot be supported by the rent that is being charged. Now, a full report to finalize the direction that council will be taken will be required to go back to council. And council still needs to deal with the requirement to settle up with Brockville and Prescott, because this particular piece of property is part of the 500 to 600 acres that was part of the ED19 holding. It happens to be a 20-acre parcel. And because there's a possibility that it may be sold, we wanted to notify the tenant well in advance that things were changing. Now, the tenant inquired whether or not they'd be able to purchase the property. And I've asked the CAO of the United Counties to determine whether or not we would be able to sell the property to the tenant at the appraised price rather than putting it on the market to a wide open market exposure. I don't have the answer to that question yet, but I just wanted to put the full picture out on the table here so that county council and the public is aware of the fact that we're not at this point evicting anybody, but there is a strong movement coming forward to, I'm going to say, deal with the 500 to 600 acres that the United Counties had assembled for the ED19 disposal site, which is now off the table. All right, so that's the mayor's report. And if there are any questions, I'm more than prepared to answer them. And I'll ask the deputy mayor if he'd bring forward the motion to approve the mayor's report. Yeah, go ahead.
On that subject, when you said you're gonna, you asked to get it a fair market appraised value, when will we know?
You
Yeah.
probably won't.
Oh,
Because we
when will the tenant know? Or is there any?
probably won't. And the reason is that when it comes to disposal or purchase of property, that's an in-camera discussion. And because it's an in-camera discussion, I mean, I can't make it public and really nobody else can. Now, I suppose that the relationship between the United Counties Social Services Department and the tenant is a different thing. And they may have a mechanism whereby they can work with that tenant. But what worries me is that in today's market, even, I mean, a 20-acre piece of property with a building on it is going to appraise quite high. I mean, it's not going to appraise for less than 150,000. That's guaranteed. And whether or not the tenant has sufficient resources, that's a different question. I don't get into that, but I just want to point out the sort of the structure that we're dealing with here.
But would it be going on the market as appraised value, or is it gonna go on the open market? That's all.
No. When a property goes on the market, we would not disclose even if the township was selling it, we would not disclose our appraised price. We get an appraisal so that when we make a decision, it has a basis of a third party. But these days, properties are selling well above their appraised values, and most of them are selling well above their listed values. So what would happen in this particular case is the county will contact 3 real estate agents, and those 3 real estate agents will each, and again, this will be the county staff, those 3 real estate agents will give the staff an opinion of value. And it won't be an appraisal, it'll be an opinion of value. And the opinion of value will say, we're prepared to list this property for X numbers of dollars. Now, the county will assess the 3 agents, their qualifications, their experiences, and their assessment of what they think they can list the property for and get out of it. And then the county will make the decision whether or not to proceed to sale, whether or not to proceed to listing, or whether to try to deal directly with the tenant. And I think that, all members of county council will direct the staff to give the tenant every opportunity to make a first effort. That does not mean to say that they won't say to the staff, list it, and the tenant has to compete in the open market. Can work either way. Go ahead.
Question, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at last meeting, when this was discussed, I just want to get this straight in my head, that the amount of land was between 100 and 150 acres. And
That may have been stated at the meeting, but it was incorrect.
And so I noticed that you said 20 acres tonight,
Yes.
and that's why that's
This particular
so
rental
it's the house
property
in 20 acres.
is a house in 20 acres.
Okay, so
Now that's my report from the CAO. Just so you don't think I
No,
got it in writing from
no,
the CAO.
no, but last meeting, it was the house in 100 to 150 acres.
Yeah,
So that's
wrong.
Some of the tax bill for 20 acres. That's right.
tax bill.
It's on the tax bill for 20 acres.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've seen the tax bill. I have. Got it?
Yep, no, I just wanted to make sure, because I had the 100 to 150 acres, not 20, and you said 20 tonight, which was different than last time. So, yep, that's it for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, just so you know, I mean, and I can't remember because there are a number of different numbers around here. The county owns somewhere between 500 and 600 acres in that area. And Tomlinson owns 100 acres right in the center of it. So, I didn't know, and I still don't know, out of the properties that the counties own, some of them are 100-acre lots, Some of them are 50-acre lots, some of them are larger, some of them are smaller, and this particular one is 20. Just the way they bought them. Okay, so Deputy Mayor, you were gonna bring forward the motion to receive the mayor's.
And moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the municipal council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Very good. All right. Further discussion, questions? If not, those in favor?
Yes.
Okay, and that motion is carried. All right, and so now I'm going on to the question period. We have Mrs. Anderson with us here this evening. So Mrs. Anderson, an opportunity for questions if you have any.
I'd like to know how we're moving on my streetlights, please.
Still have, as you saw tonight, we still haven't approved the budget. One more meeting at least. And by the way, there's no guarantees here. And I'm gonna just indicate, I mean, you've made your presentation here. I think this is the third or the fourth time about a street light for the end of your street. I've been up there. I know how dark it is. So I don't know what the overriding factors here. Maybe the CAO can help me out with this. I mean, generally in our budgets, we wouldn't put a line item in for streetlights. It would be handled within some other department or within some other line item. Maybe the CAO can help me out with that. I don't know. Mr. CAO.
Yeah, through the mayor, there is a section within that budget that does deal with streetlights.
Okay, so once the budget is approved, that'll come to be. The
So
staff will sort that out.
We don't have a timeline. This could be this year, next year, like,
Well, I'm assuming that, you've made your presentation here 4 times, so I would assume it would get a high priority within that budget section, if I can put it that way.
do we know how many lights we're gonna get on that road?
Well, yours is the only request that we have at this point. You sort of indicated you want one more closer to your residence, if I recall.
I asked for 8 lights on that road, which I know I'm not going to get, but
Okay, I
for me
couldn't
to
recall
walk
that.
down that road, it's pitch black, and
I couldn't recall that number. We have to kind of be guided by the number of poles, because we don't put in our own poles. We use poles
Right.
that are already there
yes,
in cooperation with Hydro. I didn't realize, I didn't remember that it was 8 that you had asked for.
yes.
The staff will be looking into that. It becomes a staff item once the budget is approved.
Once the budget, who decides whether I'm gonna get a street light or not? Is it the staff?
They'll come back with a recommendation. They'll come back to one of the committees with a recommendation in response to your request.
And how is it determined? Like whether I'm living on dark enough road, or whether my insurance is gonna be better because I'm safer there now with streetlights, or how does that get?
Well,
How does it get decided?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe the CEO can help me out here. I just don't know. I mean, let me phrase it this way. In our township, we have a lot of roads and a lot of streets that have no lighting at all.
I realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So through the mayor, without getting into all the details, it does based on a combination of traffic counts, intersections are a bigger priority. There's there is a policy that does speak to the street light installation and process. I don't have that off the top of my head tonight.
Okay. At some point, we might want to look at that policy then. Okay, any other questions, follow-up, Ms. Anderson? Okay, and so now I'm at item number 16. There will be a closed session here this evening. I'll ask Councillor Hunter to bring forward the motion to go into the closed session.
We signed it.
I signed it already.
Move aside. Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council proceed into closed session at 8:09 in order to address a matter pertaining to section 239(2)C, proposed or pending acquisition or disposal of land by the municipality or local board, specifically job site challenge.
Okay, thank you very much. Those in favor?
Yes.
Motion is carried. We'll just have a 5-minute break and then go into this closed session.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, the closed meeting of the council is now adjourned. The open meeting is now resumed at 8:29 p.m.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so I'm reporting out of the closed session that we met to discuss a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land, specifically the job site challenge. We reviewed some private correspondence and discussed potential opportunities for the future. And that's the report from the closed session. I'm looking now for the motion called confirmatory bylaw. And let me just see who has that motion. Confirmatory bylaw, Councillor Dillaw, you have that.
Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Council Cameron that the bylaw adopt Prairie Run Park Managed Network of the resolution by now passed signed sealed number 2022-2023.
Very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Now, those two pieces of correspondence are public information, but I think they're better left that we hold them as discreetly as possible.
Actually, Mr. Mayor, the information from IO was not, right, with her.
Yes, I believe we have a non-disclosure agreement with them. That's correct.
Yes,
Yeah, so-
That's not public.
That's not public, right? Thank you very much for that reminder. Okay, that's the confirmatory bylaw. The motion to adjourn, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that municipal council is now adjourned at 8:31 p.m.
31 p.m. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you.